We'll call the Monday, September 23rd, 2019 regular meeting of Peters Township Council to order. Mr. Lauer, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Merrill.
Present.
Mr. Steigel.
Present.
Mr. Arcuri.
Here.
Mr. Kozer.
Here.
Mr. Berquist.
Here.
Mr. Ball.
Present.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Before we start tonight, last week Peters Township suffered a terrible tragedy with the sudden and unexpected passing of firefighter and Public Works employee Adam Tarbert. Adam obviously had been a firefighter for a great amount of time, was highly respected in the fire department, and was beloved not only in the fire department but also by the Public Works Department. And he is certainly in our thoughts this evening and in our prayers, as is his wife and his 4 children. So I would ask that we all observe a moment of silence in Adam's honor. Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 9th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Motion and the second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is special reports, introduction of Sergeant Green and Corporal Emery. Chief.
You can do whatever you want. Chief, if you're going to do that, can you try to move the microphone as well?
Easy now, Paul. He's the one with the gun in his mouth.
That's why I said if you could.
Don't mess around.
Good evening. This evening is one of the one of the pleasures that I get as a chief of police, and the opportunity to promote some of our officers. Tonight is 2 particular officers, Andy Green and Judd Emery. I'm going to keep this a little shorter than I normally do because I know we have a full agenda on tonight's meeting. But I want to tell you guys that as a supervisor, the role that you're stepping into, and Andy, one more rank up, you're no longer responsible for only yourself. Rather, you're now responsible for the actions and the inactions of the subordinates who fall under your command. By virtue of your acceptance of this promotion, you've accepted this responsibility and you've sworn to ensure that the personnel under your command perform justly and work diligently to preserve the peace and dignity for Peters Township residents and the residents of this great country. I'm going to begin with Sergeant Green. Sergeant Andrew K. Green currently resides with his wife Jennifer and their 2 children, Captain Ford, Jackson, 9, and Addison, 5. They live in North Strabane Township. Sergeant Green began his career in law enforcement with Cumberland Township Police in January of 2011. Sergeant Green worked there until August of 2012 when he accepted a full-time position with the Peters Township Police Department. Sergeant Green was officially promoted to sergeant on September 22nd, 2019. Step forward. Sergeant Green, do you have family you wish to call forward to?
Do my wife Jennifer.
Sergeant Green's wife, Jennifer's pinning his badge on his uniform. Sergeant Green is also a member of the Shaycog SWAT team and does an exemplary job there as well. Our next officer for promotion this evening is Corporal Judd Emery. Judd currently resides with his wife Amy in Peters Township. Corporal Emery has 3 children, Connor, Landon, and Jake, who is 5, who's here with us tonight. Corporal Emery began his career in law enforcement with Pittsburgh Police Department, where he achieved the rank of detective and worked in various positions to include Zone 3, patrol, narcotics, and homicide. Corporal Emery worked there until March 11th, 2018, when he accepted a full-time position with the Peters Township Police Department. Corporal Emery is officially promoted to corporal on September 22nd, 2019. Hear me? For Emery's wife, Amy, is going to pin his badge on it. Each of the badges with the Peters Township Police Department carry a distinct difference that is in relation to their rank. Thank you, Amy. So I'd like to present to you tonight both Sergeant Andrew Green, Corporal Judd Emery, both who have expressed that they are honored to have been given this opportunity, and they look forward to serving the residents of Peters Township in this new capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Don't get hurt.
Congratulations.
Next item on the agenda is audience comments. This is the portion of the meeting where any member of the audience can speak for up to 5 minutes on a non-agenda item. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Board, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Fern Seibert. I live in the city of Washington at 486 Addison Street. And my reason for coming to you is I am trying to clean up the county, get the trash off the roads and dump sites that have been bothering me for several years in our county. And I'm just here to ask for your support. I mailed a letter a few months ago to you guys. I don't know if you guys seen it before this or not. I do have additional letters that talked about cleaning up the county and how I was looking for support to get off the ground as far as getting volunteers and getting monetary monies to be able to buy supplies that I would need that the state does not furnish me. They do furnish me some supplies, but not everything that I need to clean up. Like when I take tires to get them recycled, I have to pay for that. When I take TV, well, I don't have to pay for TVs. I made an agreement there, so TVs don't have to be paid for in electronics, but tires do. And if I take dump trucks full to waste management, I have to pay there. And so that's what I'm looking for, is support. And I also have some flyers that I'd like that says you guys to be able to put up around your municipality. It says, I support a clean Washington County. And it has my number on there, so if somebody says, why is the phone number? It's so if somebody wants to volunteer, they can call me. And I go out right now. The group I go out with is every Saturday morning we go somewhere around Washington, clean up the exits and stuff like that. And we pick up anywhere from 15 to 25 bags in a 2-hour period. We usually go out around 7:30 in the morning, and we quit at 9:30 because the roads are getting too heavy with traffic and stuff like that. And but I'm trying to work with some of the school districts to be able to get, my vision is to be able to get not just one time in the spring and maybe one time in the fall in the different areas, but 4 times a year to be able to get the trash off the roadways. Before, once in the spring, and then maybe once in the early summer, once in the late summer, and then once in the fall again. And then this way, we can be proud to say we live in Washington County and it's the cleanest county in the state, you know, and that's my goal. So if you would like some of these flyers and letters, I'd be glad to pass them out to you.
You can pass the letters to council directly. If you have flyers, I can take those.
Thank you, ma'am.
Should we forward this maybe to EQZ?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah,
should we
we can
refer
do it.
something to this like
Yep.
EQB?
It's our environmental quality.
Yeah. And if any business or anything like that wants to make a
Thank you, ma'am.
donation, you're
We'll take some flyers.
Okay. Here's my business card.
Thank you.
I'll take it. It's very nice of you.
And does anybody in the audience want a flyer to take with them to their business or to wherever?
Thank you, young lady.
And you can bring some of your illegal immigrants with you.
All right, I'd be happy to.
We'll take those.
Anybody else want to? Okay, well, thank you for your time. Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item?
Hi, Ron Books, 855 Bebout Road. I'm just wondering if anybody on council or in administration here in the township has recognized the growing problem, again, I'm bringing it to your attention, traffic congestion. It's amazing just how much more traffic we have in Peters Township on some of the main thoroughfares than we've had in the last 10 years. When I moved here 35 years ago, traffic congestion was virtually non-existent. Since then, we've had a number of developments and our population has grown. But we haven't made any significant adjustments to the traffic patterns, and I'm wondering if it's not an opportunity to examine this situation now before it becomes even more pressing and more expensive to correct. I know we're working with the state. I know it takes a long time to get things done through that body. But I'm hoping that a little forethought will be helpful to solving a problem which will only grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing no one, we will move on to unfinished business, of which there is none. So we'll move on to new business. First item being permission to attend the Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy.
Chief Grimes is requesting approval for Sergeant Bernetti to attend the FBI's National Academy starting in January 2020. This is a 10-week program. The cost of the program in terms of tuition is taken care of by the FBI. The township's expense is the fact that the officer remains on our payroll during that 10-week period. This is an honor to be able to attend this. It is something that the township has provided as an opportunity to other officers in our department on occasion. Sergeant Bernetti is a respected leader within the police department, and I would concur with Chief Grimes' recommendation that we permit him to attend the FBI Academy.
I'll make a motion that we approve sending Sergeant Bernetti to the FBI National Academy.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is award of a contract under the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Co-Stars for the acquisition and installment of radio communication systems for the Peters Township Fire and Police Departments.
So the 2019 budget includes an appropriation of $250,000 for the purchase and installation of a radio system for use by the Peters Township Police Department and the Peters Township Fire Department. The existing radio system's over 18 years old. As you will recollect, when we began discussing this with council quite some time ago, there is a real challenge with the existing radio system in that it is old and some of the parts are no longer available, so that in fact, particularly with regard to one of the repeaters at PV, we're out scrounging to find replacement cards to be able to keep it up and running. So council appropriated money to replace this system It's been a long struggle working towards where we are tonight, where we were comfortable with making a recommendation to you. When we began to look at this, we discovered a couple things. One, the license that we had for the fire department actually did not permit us to broadcast at the levels that we were, and we wanted to get that rectified, and we've acquired a new frequency from a neighboring municipality that allows us to broadcast at the wattage we need to be able to reach across the township. The other thing was, this map shows you where our signal currently reaches. All those spaces in white are problem areas in terms of having coverage. So one of the things we wanted to do when the system was going to be upgraded was to make sure that we could increase the coverage across the township. This is what the map looks like if in fact the system is built the way that's being proposed. It has 4 points, 3 repeater sites in the tower, as opposed to 2 repeater sites. This is based upon a desire to place a pole at Bower Hill School. We've reached out to the school district. In fact, I think the Building and Grounds Committees, for the first time tonight, is going to have a discussion with regard to that request. If we cannot do that, we can locate a tower in Peterswood Park, but as you can see, the coverage isn't nearly as good as it would be, but it's certainly improved over what was there previously. The other thing that we wanted to make sure is that we don't replace the radio system frequently, so we wanted to make sure that when we replaced it, we did so in such a way that we would be able to take advantage of it in the future if, in fact, Washington County ever goes to digital communication. And the system, as it's designed, has the flexibility to be able to do that. The purchase is being done under the CoStars program, and it's going to be my recommendation that we award a contract to Veracom under the CoStars program for $224,555. There are a couple things to keep in mind. This price does not include the purchase price of that additional pole that we need, and we have an estimate that will cost about $10,000 to do. So that would still keep us within our budgeted amount. The other thing is this process of getting this new frequency has in it itself been challenging, in that you've got to get releases from other people who are near or using that frequency. It has to go through a third-party review process before it gets to the FCC, and then it is now sitting at the FCC, and if you would go to their website, you would see tentative approval. We haven't seen formal approval yet, have we?
As of 4 o'clock today, no.
No, okay, you would see tentative approval. In theory, the FCC is supposed to turn that around in 10 days. More than 10 days has passed, but it still sits in that category. The thing that we have worked out with Motorola is if we purchase this equipment and that FCC license does not come through, the township reserves the right to cancel the equipment order. But we'd like to get the equipment order because it needs to be assembled in the sense that all these parts aren't readily available, and we need to move forward so that we can perhaps have this radio system in place before the end of the year. If you have any questions beyond that.
About Motorola, the docket says Bearcom. Is that a subsidiary?
Bearcom is their rep. So it's an independent company from Motorola, but we're going to have that same commitment from Bearcom before we sign that agreement, that in fact it can be canceled if the FCC license doesn't come through. I will tell you this, even if it doesn't come through, we're back at the drawing board because this has to happen. This has to happen.
Could you explain why there might be a problem with approval?
I don't think there's any reason there should be a problem with the approval based upon our discussions with Motorola and Bearcom and Mike's research. I I think it's just a matter of time.
Okay. I had one other question. You talked about the 10,000 for the pole. And there's some things under customer responsibility, and I just had asked whether or not we have the capability to do that, or will we be contracting with other people for some of the other work?
Most of it is providing electrical service and things like that. We have that capability within our police, not our police department, our public works department, to be able to accomplish that.
Well, I'm in support of this. I know this has been a terrible problem for a long time. I'll make a motion that we approve the award of a contract to Bearcom under the CoStars program in the amount of $224,550 to acquire and install a radio communication system for the Peters Township Fire and Police Department, contingent on approval of a new frequency.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, there is.
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
In this changing the frequency, are we compromising our ability to communicate with neighboring departments, radio or county emergency?
No, Mr. Lewis. Washington County is within the spectrum of VHF, or very high frequency. It's a 151 to a 174 range of frequency. We're still going to be within that. We're actually extremely close to what our frequency is now. Our fire frequency is 154.130. We would move to 154.430. It's going to take some work on our end and on the county's end to reprogram some radios, but ultimately that's the price that we have to pay when the original license wasn't licensed at our wattage. We tried to up that wattage. Instead of going through this relicensure process, we were unsuccessful in that because the state of Pennsylvania has acquired almost every available VHF license that there has been for their statewide communication system. So what we had to do was go to neighboring municipalities in Allegheny County that used to be on a VHF system that no longer use those frequencies and try to obtain that from one of them. We were successful in that through Brentwood.
All right. The next question is, when you raised the specter of the county going to digital, is this equipment at all able to accommodate that switch? Or?
Very capable, yes. And the equipment on the police side will be programmed as such from day one. The equipment on the fire side will not be programmed that way, but will have the ability to be programmed that way. What that's going to do for us is, it's called a P25 level of compliance. And the FCC mandates at some point in time that this compliance take place. The county at some point in time will have to be compliant countywide. They're not going to do that, from what I've heard, until they are mandated to do so. But
should we be surprised?
No, but that's with today's public safety director, who works in their own ways. If another public safety director gets hired upon his retirement in the next 5 years, that could be one of their first priorities, is to change everything over P25 compliance. So everything we should be buying from here on out should be compliant both ways.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. 7-0. Mr. Lauer, next item is award of a contract under the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania CoStars for the acquisition of portable radios for the Peters Township Fire and Police Department.
The 2019 budget includes an appropriation of $165,000 for the purchase of portable radios for the Peters Township Police Department and the Peters Township Fire Department. The existing radios are over 15 years old. If you recollect, portable radios have shown in the budget for a number of years, and we have waited until, in fact, we knew what the technology would be that we were going to be using within the radio system as a whole. So the idea was to make sure that there was compatibility, particularly compatibility going forward, if in fact we would move to that new digital technology. This is for the purchase of 52 portable radios in the amount of $163,046. This again is being purchased under the CoStars program, but this is being purchased directly from Motorola Solutions as opposed to Bearcom in the amount of $163,046.
I think we've discussed this quite often in our budget hearings. I think we all pretty much support it, and I certainly do. So I move that we award a contract for the purchase of 52 portable radios from Motorola Solutions at a cost of $163,046.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Lauer. Does these radios have any connection with the previous item we just discussed?
Yes, but these radios would work with your current system as well as the system that is proposed, and so therefore this does not need to be conditioned. And in fact,
That's the only question
okay.
I had. Thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure, because I heard Chief McLaughlin say something about the radios needing to be programmed, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is departure from regulations to permit the creation of a lot without direct access to a public road.
So the next two items are actually related to each other, and what we discovered when we were out doing the work on Center Church Road is that we have a lot, the lot in blue, that has two homes on it that are occupied individually. And this situation must have existed for years. And so the attempt is to rectify this as best we can by placing each of the homes on a separate lot. So the subdivision, that is the next item, would result in the division of the properties as you see it here. The departure that's needed is to allow that lot that's shown in blue to be created without direct access onto a public road. And the way that's going to be accomplished and what requires a departure is that an easement across the lot in green is going to be created and allow access in that way. So the first thing the council needs to do is to grant that departure. Again, when you looked at this, there are the lot in yellow and the lot in blue are all owned by the same individuals. There's a house on the lot in yellow. There are two houses on the lot in blue. The property that's shown in brown is actually a separate piece of property that would like to acquire a portion, the back portion of the lot in yellow. So if this subdivision is approved, what you would have is a configuration that looks like this. You would have 3 houses on 3 lots, and then and the lot that's in brown, you would allow them to extend their backyard further.
The brown lot have access to the public road?
Yeah, it actually, if you can see their driveway comes down, it's Club View. Yeah.
And to that point, it seems like there's actually 3 things to me, because that subdivision, to give that property the extra backyard could be a separate thing entirely unrelated to the other 2. So would it make sense to approve that and then approve the other?
No, because what you see here is on the subdivision drawing.
Yeah.
So this is just one approval that creates, in essence, a reconfigured brown lot and these 3 lots. So
I had one other question. So what happens when the properties that have the access, no direct access to the road, would be sold? Is all of this grandfathered, or what happens?
that easement travels with the lot. That easement they'll own and will travel with
always
the lot.
have access through that easement.
That'll be recorded.
Yeah, it's going to
Be
be recorded.
recorded
So it's
easement.
never going to go away unless they agree to.
Right.
Correct.
And they wouldn't be able to agree to it because they would have no means of access then.
Well, I know, but they
Yeah, well,
theoretically they could, right?
Well, the only thing that could happen is that the house that's on the green lot be torn down. You combine the 2 lots and you have access back to.
Who owns the green lot?
They're all owned by the same person. Who's that in?
The Metzmeyers who are here tonight.
Okay. So they own the green and the blue and the
yellow.
Isn't there something that said that you can't have an easement on your own fee? Isn't there case law like that?
No, that only applies if you buy a piece of land. If someone else...
I mean, I vaguely remember saying it.
From law school.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's a long time ago, but
a little longer for you than it was for me, right? If one party owned the green parcel and another party owned the blue parcel, and the owner of the blue parcel bought the green parcel, that would eliminate the easement.
It would merge.
It would merge because it existed prior to the easement. This way,
I'm okay. I just had a question, and I figured Mr. Real Estate here would know.
So it's my recommendation that we grant the departure and then we approve the subdivision.
Now, there's going to be an actual written recorded easement, right? An actual
Correct.
easement document,
We
not
have-
just the plan, right?
There'll be a written easement. We have it in our possession. As soon as this plan gets recorded, that'll be recorded.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve, number one, the departure from regulations to permit the creation of a lot without access to a public road, and I'll also move that we approve for recording purposes the Metzmeyer subdivision as shown on drawings prepared by the Harshman CE Group dated July 26, 2019, for James and Joan Metzmeyer, subject to any conditions set forth by the Planning Commission.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Good luck to you, Mr. and Mrs. Metzmeyer. You will now receive 3 sets of tax bills from the county and everyone. So enjoy that. Get ready to write more checks. Next item is approval for recording, approval for recording purposes of the JF 12013 lot line revision plan as shown on drawings prepared by the Gibson Thomas Engineering Company dated July 1st, 2019 for Just About Development LLC.
This is the definition of a simple subdivision. They want to move a property line 2 feet to accommodate
To fit
a larger
a bigger house.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve for recording purposes the JF 12013 lot line revision plan as shown on drawings prepared by Gibson Thomas Engineering Company dated July 1, 2019 for Just About Development LLC, subject to any conditions or whatever that may have been put on there by the Planning Commission. Which I don't think there are any.
I'll second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a comment. 2 feet is a very small amount in the grand scheme of a site. And I would just ask that planning be diligent in making sure the lot lines are where they're supposed to be. Having experienced complaints from people in a new development where the lines don't end up where they're supposed to be, I would ask that they be diligent about this kind of thing.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is approval for recording purposes of the Medwed and Site subdivision as shown on drawings prepared by the Widmer Engineering Group dated September 10th, 2019 for Joseph A. Sites.
So if you see the drawing, what they're doing is removing a portion of the one lot and adding it onto the other to increase the amount of frontage along the roadway. Is there anything you want to add in?
No, just simple lot line shift here. It's been approved by the planning, recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and there are no pending conditions.
I'll make a motion that we approve for recording purposes the Medwed and Site subdivision.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is award of professional service contract for design of a playground and accessibility improvements in Peters Woods Park.
In 2018, we received a grant in the amount of $150,000 for the installation of a playground and accessibility improvements in Peterswood Park. The intent of the grant is to offset at least a portion of those improvements. One of the requirements of the grant is that the design be done by a professional design organization. We solicited proposals. There were 3 proposals, one from Mackin Engineering in the amount of $24,600, one from HRG in the amount of $22,500, and one from EPD in the amount of $33,024. HRG is currently did work for us on the other playground that was designed in Peterswood Park, where HRG has performed admirably on the Rolling Hills Drive project. We had problems with regard to their design work with regard to the playground, and for that reason it's going to be Michelle Harmel's and my recommendation that the township award this contract to Mackin Engineering in the amount of $24,600.
All I move we award the contract to Mackin Engineering for $24,600.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is award of a professional services contract for auditing services.
The township recently issued a request for proposals for a 3-year contract for auditing services. In your docket is a tabulation of those bids. They range from $32,985 for Cipher and Cipher, $34,800 for Hosek Speck, Mutual and Wood, and $37,000 for Meyer, Patsy and Associates. One of the things that I would point out to you is that we requested that each of the bidders provide us with an estimate of the number of hours they would devote to this service. Hosek by far had the most hours devoted. The other thing about it is, if you run over those hours, they have the ability to bill for those hours. Hosek, of these 3 firms, is the only one that has produced a comprehensive annual financial report. There's real value to that. I would have real concern about someone learning how to do that on our dime. And so for that reason, it is both Mr. Jaworski's recommendation and mine that we award a 3-year contract to Hosek Speck, Mutual and Wood.
So moved.
Second.
We use them anyway, isn't it?
That's who has been our auditor for a long time, yes.
Theoretically, they should come in under budget, so I agree.
Have a motion.
Is there a question about the number of hours? Was this the first time we asked them for hours?
Well, ask Ryan that, because Ryan put together the RFP.
No, it's not. But in the past, it was never, truthfully, it was probably something we didn't notice in the past. At least 3 years ago when I did it the last time, I didn't notice it. This time coming around, and especially knowing how much time since I've been involved more in the past few years with the comprehensive annual financial report and the popular annual financial report, knowing how much time that auditor needs to devote to that was a real issue.
Well, after 20 years of working with us, I would presume that'd be pretty much on the money. So, I mean, I don't imagine they're going to over...
And we will correct this. In the next time this is bid out, we're going to put a floor of at least 200 hours as an expectation for that lump sum.
Yeah. And I can tell you this, Hosek not only delivers that audit based upon what the number of hours, we reach out to Hosek for things like questions with regard to borrowings and things like that, and you're not ever billed for those.
Well, I think that based on what I've seen with the audit, it looks very comprehensive. I'm not questioning your skill. I was just trying to understand related to the hours you made a point of explaining. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is statement of the minimum municipal obligation for employee pensions.
So in the docket is a statement of the minimum municipal obligation for the pensions for 2020. That total obligation is for $1,190,799. Council simply has to acknowledge receipt of that statement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is a resolution authorizing the Peters Township Sanitary Authority to submit a local share account grant application.
The Peters Township Sanitary Authority would like to submit a local share grant application for a project they have installing an ultraviolet disinfection system. That they anticipate the cost of that project to be $2,680,000. They're seeking $1,340,000 in funding from Washington County. They cannot make that application unless council authorizes it to be made.
We adopt resolution 09-02-19 authorizing the Peters Township Sanitary Authority to submit a local share account grant application.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item is resolution authorizing the Peters Creek Sanitary Authority to submit a local share account grant application.
This is a grant application to do a lining project. These sewers are all located in Peters Township, and so therefore they require council's approval to make that submittal. The project's total cost is $376,000. The authority seeking $188,000 from Washington
Move
County.
that we adopt resolution number 09-03-19, authorizing the Peters Creek Sanitary Authority to submit a local share account grant application.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Next item, payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the payroll and bills. I find them in order, and I move that they be paid.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a question on the page you gave us, additional to what was in the docket. You had geomechanics inspecting Rolling Hills. Can
Yes.
you just talk about what that 20,000?
That is to do testing for compaction for the roadway. They did the design for the geotech. They're out inspecting to make sure that their design standards are being met.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Correspondence. Anything, Mr. Lauer? Okay. Moving on to reports. Does any member of council wish to discuss any of the various committee reports?
Department reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I had a few questions. First was for engineering. Your report indicates that, I guess, the approval process or planning process for Rolling Hills Drive is moving ahead. The construction of the high school is on schedule. With this geotechnical inspection and the other things, do you think we're going to be able to start construction in the near future?
The plan is to start construction in March or April of next year. We're still pending with an HOP, a joint permit for stream relocation. We hope to get those this winter and be in a position to bid it over the winter, accept bids in the spring, and start construction in the spring. That'll give us plenty of time to get the road done before school opens.
I can't share your enthusiasm for saying it gives you plenty of time.
I would.
I'm alarmed over this dragging out to the extent that it is. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure what you can do with the state, but
I have concerns.
Well, what we are going to do with the state...
They're tracking opening, as they predicted, for that January 2021.
What we are going to do with the state is that we have the fifth set of comments that they have just recently issued. We are going to be scheduling a meeting with them and taking the drawings down with penciled-in revisions to make sure that at that point the people sitting at that table, who are the people who need to give approvals, that in fact what has been shown on those drawings will meet their concerns.
Can I make a suggestion? I think you should take some of Mrs. Koser's cookies. Because
might be helpful.
maybe it would help.
Is this PennDOT or DEP?
PennDOT.
So what's the
I mean,
what's the issue?
it seems like it's been a year that
Well, and
It
the
has.
thing is, when this
Yeah.
first started, they said, as I recall, when we were discussing roundabout versus relocating East McMurray Road, they said they didn't take a position. They really didn't care what the road looked like. So what's the holdup?
Well, the holdup for a while was the technical standards by which that was going to be designed. When we look, for the most part, when you look at the comments right now, they are more simply changing notations on drawings as opposed to anything else. I do believe we're going to be able to get this done in time. I really do.
Is the street permit, is that an issue?
No, that's DEP.
Well, yeah, I know.
It hasn't been issued.
No.
No. It's in that status of technical review. The last we heard, the Army Corps wanted to see it. That review is being done.
Just as much of an issue as the HOP.
So wouldn't that be the ultimate irony if school's done on time, but
Yeah.
there's no way to get to it?
Oh, there's
Well,
always going to be a way
Center
to get to it.
Church.
Right.
Just drop the kids off at Center
It's just
Church.
not going to be a very convenient way.
Well, the upper end of the road will be done.
You'll have to make sure we tell them they can't all drive. I did have another question. I hope I know the answer to this. So I understand that the school district has encountered some geological problems. They thought they hit a coal seam. It was something else. Or I would hope you're sharing information, or they're giving you information about what they're encountering on their side of the property, as opposed to what might continue on to the other side.
Yeah, we're aware of what they've hit, and we're about done with the bulk earthwork for the first part of Rolling Hill Drive. We did not encounter nearly the same conditions that they did, which is a good thing.
Well, just sharing information. I'm hoping that that's happening. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Mark, everybody seems to be picking on you, but that's done in favored status, I think. One question I have is I appreciate the update in the report relative to the water line on Fawn Valley Drive. As you probably presume, I'm somewhat of a contractor assessment, and I mean this is just dragging out incredibly long. They haven't, as far as I can tell, they haven't started any of the service tie-ins. The one place in the whole loop road that had 3 failures in the last 5 years started to leak Friday in that exact same spot, and that just like has that resident completely off base. And I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're there for 2 days a week and then they're gone, and I think we need to talk to them. That I think they've gotten to the point where I'm not sure they're going to get done this fall.
Well, for what it's worth, the paving contractor for them, subcontractor called me today, and they're gearing up to start trench line restoration as soon as they're done with the tie-ins, which I agree with you. I don't think, taking a drive through there, I don't think they've done many of the tie-ins.
If any, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what can be done. I mean, as you're aware, it's not our contract. It's the water company, obviously. So, I mean, I can call them and see if they can accelerate the schedule and try to...
Well, they don't need to accelerate. They just need to be there.
Right.
No, this year's round of sewer, water, and paving is about as bad as I've ever seen it.
Well, there's a lot of it, too. And I think you're seeing that. And I think it's not going to get much better. I mean, there may be ups and downs, but I think the general trend is going to go up because...
Well, it can't go down any further.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure that's been put in the 50s and 60s that needs replaced.
But as Mr. Lewis said, if they were working on it and it was behind schedule, I would say what you're saying is true, but they're not there. I don't know where they are, but they're not working on the projects they have open in our township.
We're not feeling the love there.
A little lack of luck. Maybe we need some of Mrs. Kozer's cookies.
Mr. Kozer,
What's going on in Thompsonville? Somebody tore up the road there. Are they going to pave that?
Yeah, that's been the gas company, and they've been...
Are they going to do it like before, the end of the year?
The schedule for that, and this brings me to my last point, is that they're gonna do trench line restoration here, hopefully starting next week. But immediately following that is the water company replacing their line on Thompsonville. So you're going to have that probably up until Thanksgiving, when they're going to go on hiatus for the winter, and then they're going to finish that line up in the spring. It's our plan to pave that road with our contract next year. So it's Thompsonville's.
But I thought if they did that work, they're responsible to pave that at least half that road.
And they are. The deal we worked out with them, because this has been, we wanted to pave Thompsonville for years, but we've also known that they have pending utility projects, so it doesn't make any sense to pave it and have them rip up the new pavement. So we've held off and given them time to replace their facilities, and the arrangement we have worked out with them is you're right, they're responsible for their half of the road, gas company is, water company's responsible for their half. Rather than have a cold joint in the middle of the road and do it that way, we're working out an arrangement where they pay the township their fair share, and then we're going to go pave it with our contract. We feel not only do we get better work, but just from a coordination standpoint, it works a lot better because it's one
I think that's something
contractor.
we've done in the past.
We have, yeah, we've done that in the past.
It's just like aggravating to drive down.
I would agree.
And it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Okay, turning to 1950.
One more time, Mr. Mark.
Good.
Do we have any perception of what this mountain of aggregate is on the school property down at the new intersection on
It's,
Center
yeah, it's
Church?
the aggregate that will go into the school's parking lot as well as our road.
They've just stockpiled it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Lauer.
I do want to point out one thing inside of the monthly reports. This is part of the report in the planning department. One of the things that you're going to be getting each month from the zoning officer is a visual representation of all the property maintenance complaints that have been opened and those which have been closed. The other thing that this is going to do beginning next month, it's going to highlight that area in which we, in that month, travel to every street and view the area to see whether or not there were any violations. So I give Kristen and Ed a lot of credit because I think this is going to be a good way to be able to clearly see what's happening out there. So.
And we thank you for cleaning it.
Taking the property tag off the Little Hills Park.
Yes, what was pointed out to me that's exactly where the new roadway will be located. So, but that's okay.
I had two more things or three more things I'd like to mention. First of all, I'm sorry, Chief McLaughlin left. The fire department is going to do a Citizens Fire Academy.
Yes.
I think that's a wonderful opportunity. It's a joint venture with North Bank. You didn't really call that out, but I think that's something that there was a notice that went on, but people need to perhaps check the website if they're interested.
Well, they have their open house this weekend, and I think they're intending on signing up people while they're there at the open house.
The other thing I'd like to give a shout out to the library. I love our library. Mrs. Olenik's report talked about, if any of you do check out books or books, you get a receipt that talks about, since you've started checking out books, how much you've saved based on not having to buy the book by using the library. And they had a young teenager who uses the library who actually took a picture of it. He was up in Canada somewhere on vacation and posted it. And as a result, Mrs. Olenek is getting calls from all over North America and Canada asking how to do it because it shows a very positive value that the library gives. So I think that's an important thing to recognize them for. The last thing I had was, thank you, Mr. Zorowski, for the comprehensive financial report. And I did have a couple questions about the solicitor's report, but I didn't know whether those would be more appropriate in a brief executive session.
Well, you are going to have a brief executive session, and we can go over that.
Okay, anything under miscellaneous, Mr. Lauer?
No.
Anything any member of council wants to see on the next meeting agenda?
Excuse me, I have something under miscellaneous. The payment to Campos was on the payroll and bills. What's the status of the survey?
One of the things that I was going to give you at the before you left is we have the final copy of the survey that's going to be administered. It's ready to go. This is being done online. We've had a chance to look at that interface, and I think it's going to work out well. So it's all set to go. And that's the contract calls for 3 payments, and one of those is due at this point in time when the survey is ready to be administered.
The other thing that I wanted to just ask, I know we talked a lot about waters when they were being approved, and I do have to tell you that in my mind I expected that to be accessible from the street on Valley Brook, and I'm trying to envision in my mind what that's going to look like.
There'll be a
because it seems very high already.
6-foot wide sidewalk along Valley Brook and steps up to a courtyard that opens up to the first floor of the building. That's how the plans were presented. That's how they were designed.
So will there be also a ramp?
There will also be a handicap ramp.
And there's the entrance from the other side of the building from the parking lot side, too.
Well, yeah, there'll be access from the back at grade level.
Don't you have plans available so you could review?
I went back to look through the docket because I know.
I can
given them,
send
and
you-
I was trying to visualize it, but it seems high to me. It seems really high. Again, I'm not a traffic engineer or a regular engineer, so I just thought I'd ask.
Okay, anything any member of council wants to see on the next meeting agenda? Anybody have anything else for the good of the order? All right, we're adjourned.